All right, Virgo, let's get into your reading. So, the message coming in strong today is this, and it carries real weight inside your chest. There is something raw about the trail, something that reshapes the way you see everything around you. You handed this person a version of yourself that was unguarded and completely stripped down to bone. They carried your loyalty in a way that most people in their entire lives would never earn. The connection felt unbreakable to you. It felt like something you could safely build your entire future on. What makes this wound so deep is the silence, the way it happened while your guard was lowered. You were not bracing for it, and that is exactly what gave the betrayal its devastating power. This message is confirmation that the universe, in its own quiet way, witnessed everything you endured. Nothing about your suffering was invisible. Nothing about your pain went unwitnessed by the spiritual realm. Karma does not overlook or rush, but when it moves, it carries the full weight of truth. You may have questioned whether anyone noticed, but this reading shows every wound was documented by spirit. Let us go ahead and dive into this, because the cards have so much to show you. The first card here is the Ten of Swords, and this one immediately validates your entire experience. The Ten of Swords does not appear lightly. It only surfaces after a genuine emotional ambush. This card confirms the wound was real. You did not overreact or fabricate anything about what took place. There was a precise moment where everything collapsed, and you felt the full magnitude of their deception. This person understood your vulnerable places. They studied your softness and then weaponized it against you. You gave them access to rooms inside yourself, rooms you never open, and they ransacked everyone. The Ten of Swords also signals completion, meaning this chapter of suffering has already closed behind you. Whatever they orchestrated is finished now. The blade has been removed, and your body is beginning to regenerate. The next card coming through is Justice, and this one speaks directly to the karma in your message. Justice does not arrive when the scales stay tilted. It only appears when divine correction begins. The energy has shifted around this situation, and the person who deceived you is facing their own mirror. You may not have seen the consequences yet, but the rebalancing is moving with absolute precision. Justice says the truth you carried alone, the one nobody believed, is finally surfacing on its own. What stands out is the certainty, the knowing that what was done in darkness cannot stay hidden. This is not wishful thinking. This is spiritual mechanics. The same energy they projected outward is circling back. Every lie they constructed, every mask they wore, is dissolving under the pressure of divine timing. Then we have the Tower in reverse, and this tells me the destruction they designed did not land. They anticipated you would crumble entirely. They expected the aftermath to leave you permanently hollowed out. The reverse tower reveals you absorbed the full impact, but you did not fracture the way they calculated. Something inside you held steady. Some part of your emotional core refused to bow down to their cruelty. You did not retaliate. You did not beg for their mercy, and that composure is what preserved you. That resilience was not accidental. The cards reveal your spirit was forged for exactly this kind of trial. You were built to survive what was meant to bury you, and this reading is the undeniable proof. Following that, we see the Ace of Cups, and this card shifts the entire temperature of your reading. The Ace of Cups brings emotional renewal, and it tells you that despite everything, your heart never hardened. You still carry the capacity to feel, to receive warmth, and that unsettles this person to their core. Your openness survived the betrayal intact, and that is the most powerful statement these cards could possibly make. This is not weakness. This is proof your spirit chose healing when it had every reason to harden. The Ace of Cups shows your emotional foundation being rebuilt, fresh energy pouring into the spaces they emptied. New tenderness is forming where the scar tissue sits, and this renewal says the knife never reached center. Everything across these 4 cards says one undeniable truth. What they did has not broken who you are. Now the cards are shifting focus entirely toward you, and what they uncover is deeply personal. A heaviness lives inside your chest right now, a fatigue that reaches far beyond anything physical. You have been carrying this wound in silence, folding it so deep nobody around you noticed. The exhaustion is not from what happened alone. It is from pretending that you were fine. You mastered the art of functioning, showing up every single morning while something inside you screamed. The first card I have is the Moon, and it speaks to the confusion clouding your mind. The Moon uncovers a fog that will not lift, a mental loop that keeps circling without resolution. You keep replaying moments, searching for the exact instant things shifted, and you cannot locate it. The uncertainty follows you into quiet moments, sitting with you at night when the distractions disappear. Part of you wonders if the signs were visible, if you missed something that was always obvious. That question haunts you more than the betrayal, the idea that your instincts might have failed you. The Moon also illuminates the doubt you carry about your judgment, the way you question everything now. Trust used to come naturally to you. It was something you offered, without ever calculating risk. Now every offer of closeness gets filtered through suspicion, and that filter was never supposed to exist. That version of yourself feels distant now, almost like a stranger, and losing that openness is grief. You are mourning who you were before this happened, and nobody around you grasps the depth of it. The next card coming through is the Nine of Wands, and it mirrors your current emotional posture. The Nine of Wands shows a soul still standing, but barely, every nerve exposed and raw. Your walls are raised so high that even safe people in your life cannot find a way through. A guardedness has settled into your energy, something that was never part of who you were before. You notice yourself flinching at kindness, questioning motives behind generosity, analyzing every word for traps. You catch yourself reading too deeply into casual conversations, searching for threats that are probably not there. That hypervigilance is draining you from the inside. It takes enormous energy to scan every room. Your nervous system is locked in protection, and the Nine of Wands confirms it refuses to shut down. You want to relax. You want to exhale, but your body will not cooperate because it remembers. Sleep does not come easily anymore, and when it does, The rest is shallow and unsatisfying. Your body holds the memory of what happened, even when your conscious mind tries to move past it. Your mind accepted the chapter is closed, but your body is still braced for another impact. Following that, we see the Five of Cups, and this card reaches the root of what you feel. The Five of Cups is focused grief, the kind where you stare at what was lost endlessly. You keep looking backward at what the connection used to be, the version you believed was genuine. Sadness catches you off guard at random, arriving in the middle of something completely ordinary. You could be driving, cooking, folding laundry, and suddenly the weight drops into your stomach without warning. Nobody sees those moments. You have trained yourself to recover and mask the sting before anyone looks. The grief is not theatrical. It is quiet and repetitive, like a tide that withdraws, then returns. You have not given yourself permission to fully feel it, because part of you equates feeling with failure. A voice inside you insists you should be past this, that your timeline for healing already expired. That voice is not truth. It is pressure. And the cards say your grief carries no expiration date. You are allowed to still ache over this. You are allowed to feel the fracture without performing recovery. Healing does not require an audience, and it does not require you to prove anything to anyone. The Five of Cups also reveals that underneath the sadness, buried deep, is anger you barely acknowledge. You swallowed your rage to preserve dignity, and it settled into your body as tension and sleepless nights. Every part of your emotional landscape has been rearranged, and you are still learning the new terrain. You do not need to rush this. The cards say your pace is the only pace that counts.
Okay, now the cards are turning toward this person. And what comes through is heavy and conflicted. This person is not at peace. They are carrying a weight inside them that they refuse to name. On the surface, they appear composed, but underneath that mask is a storm they cannot outrun. The guilt is eating at them in waves, arriving when they least expect and staying longer each time. They wake at night replaying it, unable to quiet the loop that their own choices set into motion. They built their decisions on selfishness, and now the foundation of those choices is starting to crack. The first card here is the Knight of Cups in reverse, and it exposes their emotional dishonesty. This card says they knew what they were doing. They understood the cost and moved forward regardless. The reversed Knight reveals a person who performed affection, who mirrored your warmth without ever truly feeling it. They performed closeness with precision, borrowing the words and gestures they observed and reflecting them back hollow. They borrowed your emotional language, used your vulnerability as a script, and played the role convincingly. What disturbs them now is how easily they pulled it off, how naturally the deception flowed from them. A part of them recognized the damage they were causing, but that awareness was silenced by their selfishness. There was a flicker of conscience, a moment where they almost stopped, and they chose to override it. That ignored moment haunts them now. It replays in their mind at night when the distractions run dry. The reversed knight also shows regret wrapped in pride. They feel remorse, but refuse to express it. Their ego will not let them sit in truth, so they perform indifference as a daily shield. The next card is the Seven of Swords, and this one reveals the calculated strategy behind the betrayal. The Seven of Swords tells me this was not impulsive. There was calculation behind every single step. They planned their exit from your trust carefully, removing themselves in pieces so you would not notice. The deception was gradual, methodical, and deliberate, designed to keep you comfortable while they extracted themselves. Each lie was layered on top of the previous, building a structure that took real effort to maintain. The Seven of Swords also exposes their fear of discovery, the constant anxiety of being unmasked. They lived in a state of tension the entire time, monitoring your reactions to see if you suspected. That tension never left them. It is still lodged in their chest because truth has not surfaced. They are aware the lie is fragile, that one conversation or one revelation could collapse everything they built. The paranoia of exposure follows them everywhere, into their sleep, into their most private moments. They cannot enjoy stillness anymore because stillness forces them to sit with who they actually are. Then we have the devil, and this card digs into the root of why they operate this way. The devil says they are chained to patterns they did not create, cycles of manipulation, inherited and reinforced. This person learned early that love was transactional, that closeness required strategy, and vulnerability meant losing control. Manipulation became their native tongue, the only language they felt confident using in intimate spaces. They do not know how to receive genuine affection without suspecting motive, because that was their conditioning. Your openness terrified them on a level they could not articulate, and rather than face it, they sabotaged. The sabotage was not hatred, it was panic, a desperate attempt to destroy something before it exposed them. They could not let you see them fully because underneath lives a version of themselves they despise. The devil says they are trapped in a cycle, repeating harm, because familiar pain feels safer than change. They did not expect to encounter love without conditions, and that generosity destabilized their entire emotional framework. Familiarity became their prison, and your love was the one thing that threatened to shatter the walls entirely. They did not betray you because you lacked value. They betrayed you because your value overwhelmed them completely. That truth sits inside them right now, unspoken and suffocating, and they cannot process any of it. The cards show a person drowning in their choices, unable to swim, and too proud to reach out. So the cards are shifting into movement now. And what this person does next is significant. This is no longer about feelings, it is about the steps they are preparing to take. The energy around them is accelerating fast, and the decisions forming are gaining momentum daily. They are reaching a tipping point, a place where silence is no longer sustainable for them. The pressure has been building steadily, and it is now forcing their hand toward unavoidable action. The first card is the Eight of Wands, and this signals rapid movement, arriving without warning. The Eight of Wands does not creep in slowly, it strikes fast and reshapes everything at once. This person is about to make contact, a reach out that arrives after a long silence. The communication will not be polished or rehearsed. It will feel rushed, like pressure finally releasing. An urgency lives behind their next move, a desperation that even they did not see building this fast. They have been drafting messages in their head for weeks, composing words they never had courage to send. That dam is about to break, and when it does, the flood of contact will feel sudden. The silence between you is about to shatter, and when it does, the shift will be unmistakable. The Eight of Wands tells me this happens within a compressed timeline, faster than you anticipate. It may arrive as a text or a call, but the delivery will catch you completely off guard. They are not reaching out from clarity, they are reaching out because the pressure became unbearable. This is desperation, not strategy. And that shift marks a significant departure from their usual pattern. The calculated version of them is cracking, and what emerges is raw and unfiltered and messy. The mask they wore is no longer holding, and the cracks are becoming visible to everyone around them. Multiple things will shift at once, not just contact, but visible changes across their entire life. You may notice shifts in their routines and social presence, things rearranging in ways that feel deliberate. The next card is the Two of Swords, and it reveals the decision paralyzing them right now. The Two of Swords shows a person at a fork, blindfolded by pride and unable to choose. They keep weighing honesty against continued silence, and both options terrify them in different ways. One path leads toward honesty, the other leads deeper into avoidance, and they are stalling between both. The indecision is written across their actions, showing up as restlessness and sudden erratic choices. The stalling will not last. The Eight of Wands energy is overriding their desire to stay hidden. External pressure is accelerating this. Circumstances outside their control are removing the option of silence. People around them are starting to ask questions.
situations aligning that make their deception harder to hold. They are being funneled toward a reckoning, and every exit they try is sealed before they arrive. The Two of Swords confirms they will be forced to choose, and that choice arrives faster than expected. Their next move is not optional, it is being demanded by the weight of the situation itself. The momentum building behind this is not negotiable. It is larger than their resistance can withstand. What they planned to delay is now accelerating, and nothing they do can slow it down. They are about to step out of hiding, whether ready or not, because the window for avoidance closed. The approach will be clumsy and incomplete. They will not say everything, not on the first attempt. Expect partial truths mixed with deflection, because full transparency is something they have not practiced lately. The first conversation will only scratch the surface, but it sets a chain of events into irreversible motion. They will test the waters first, gauging your reaction carefully before deciding how much truth to offer. The cards show this as a process, not a single event, meaning the contact opens a door. Their movement toward you is messy and imperfect, but the Eight of Wands says it is undeniably real. The imperfection is not hesitation. It is the first honest movement they have made in months. The coming weeks carry a surge of activity, and what was dormant is about to erupt. This person is stepping off the sideline, and once that first step lands, there is no retreating. Okay, this is where the cards go beneath the surface, into what will never be spoken. These are confessions locked behind their pride, truths they swallow every single day in silence. They will not admit this to anyone, but the cards expose it with unflinching clarity. The first confession is this: they miss you in a way that has become physically painful. It is not casual longing, it is the kind that sits in their bones and refuses to leave. They think about you at random hours during mundane tasks that have nothing to do with you. Your name surfaces in their mind uninvited, like a reflex. They cannot train their body to stop. They have tried replacing your presence with distractions, with noise and activity, and none of it works. Your absence has become louder than anything they fill their days with, and they recognize it. The first card is the High Priestess, and she reveals the secret they guard most carefully. The High Priestess says they are in love with you, and that confession terrifies them completely. They never planned to fall this deep. It was never their design, and it haunts them constantly. Love was supposed to stay manageable, something they could regulate, and instead it consumed them entirely. They replay your voice in private, recalling specific things you said that branded themselves into memory. Certain phrases you spoke live permanently inside them, surfacing at random and triggering waves of longing. The High Priestess also uncovers a fantasy they carry, a version of reconciliation built entirely in silence. They have imagined it in vivid detail, rehearsed apologies in their head, and pictured your reaction. A scenario they return to constantly, one where you forgive them and everything resets to before. That fantasy sustains them through their worst nights. It is the only comfort they allow themselves. They would never tell you this,
but they compare every new interaction to the standard you set. Nobody measures up. Nobody carries the same depth or warmth, and that comparison torments them daily. The High Priestess confirms they have whispered your name in the dark, not as prayer, but ache. They carry a version of you inside them, speaking to it privately, like a ghost of your warmth. The longing is not fading, it is deepening with each week, and they are terrified of that truth. Each week tightens what they feel, and denial is no longer strong enough to contain it. The next card is the Six of Cups, and it pulls forward what they miss most intimately. The Six of Cups reveals they are haunted by specific memories, not grand moments, but the smallest details. The way you laughed at something ordinary, the way your voice softened at night. Those details consume them. They miss the version of themselves they became around you, the one that felt lighter and safe. That version only existed in your presence, and without you, they do not recognize themselves anymore. The emptiness left by your absence has a shape, and it matches the exact outline of your presence. The Six of Cups says they secretly want a second chance, not to repeat, but to rebuild. They want to prove they are capable of honesty, but that confession feels too vulnerable to risk. The desire for a second chance burns inside them quietly, hidden beneath layers of rehearsed detachment. Underneath every layer of pride, what lives at their core is a desperate need to be chosen. They want you to choose them knowing the full truth and still deciding they are worth the effort. That need is the most terrifying confession because it strips away every wall they ever constructed. Being fully known by you is what they crave, and also what terrifies them the most. They are not afraid of rejection, they are afraid of your compassion, because kindness would undo them. If you showed mercy, the version of themselves they built to survive would collapse and never reassemble. Your tenderness is the one weapon against which they have no defense, and they know it instinctively. The Six of Cups confirms you are not just a chapter, you are the entire turning point. You changed the trajectory of their life without trying, and that realization sits with them like a stone. Every hidden confession leads back to one root. They gave away the only thing that ever felt real. They know it, they feel it every day, and the silence they maintain is suffocation, not strength. So let us bring this reading to a close, because the cards have one final message. The near future holds a shift you can feel approaching, a turning point that changes everything. The first card is the Star, and she confirms that what lies ahead is healing you earned. The Star does not appear after easy chapters. She arrives after devastation and signals the rebuilding. The coming weeks bring a softening in your energy, a release that you will feel in your chest. Tension you have carried for months begins to dissolve, and the heaviness starts lifting without explanation. You will notice moments of unexpected lightness, flashes of peace arriving in the middle of ordinary days. The Star says clarity arrives in steady waves, not all at once, but enough to restore your direction. The second card is the King of Cups, and he represents the emotional mastery you are growing into. The King of Cups shows you becoming the version of yourself, the one this experience was shaping. You will not return to who you were before. You are evolving into something stronger and more discerning.
The near future asks you to stay open, not reckless, but willing to let the right things in. The King of Cups also signals that emotional balance returns, a steadiness you have not felt in months. Now, here is the advice the cards are offering, and I need you to hear this carefully. Do not shrink yourself to make this easier for anyone. Your boundaries are sacred right now. Protect your peace without apology. You have earned the right to be selective about your space. When this person reaches out, and they will, respond from your center and not from your wounds. Let your response come from the version of you that survived, not the version still in pain. You do not owe a quick answer. Take the time you need to feel what is genuine. Trust what your body tells you. Your instincts are sharper now than they have ever been. Lead with discernment, not with the desire to be chosen, but with quiet and grounded self-respect. The future is not asking you to forget. It is asking you to stop punishing yourself for trusting. Your trust was never the mistake. Their dishonesty was. And the cards need you to understand that fully. Now let me bring the message back around, because it ties everything in this reading together. The message was clear. A person you trusted buried a knife in your back, and karma removed it. Every card validated that message, starting with the Ten of Swords, which proved the wound was real. Justice showed the scales correcting, and the Tower reversed proved the destruction did not break you. The Ace of Cups proved your heart stayed open, and the Moon illuminated the confusion you carried inside. The Nine of Wands mirrored your exhaustion, and the Five of Cups honored the grief you never expressed. The cards on your side honored exactly where you stand, and not one judged your pain. The Knight of Cups reversed exposed their dishonesty, and the Seven of Swords uncovered the calculated betrayal. The Devil revealed the root of their patterns, and the Eight of Wands showed movement already approaching. The Two of Swords showed the decision paralyzing them, and the High Priestess exposed the love they hide. The Six of Cups showed they are haunted by your memory, and the Star says, healing is certain. The King of Cups confirms you are stepping into emotional mastery, stronger and more whole than ever before. Every single card aligned with one truth. What was done to you did not define your ending. Karma witnessed everything. Karma responded, and the chapter that tried to destroy you is closing now. What tried to end you became your catalyst, and that transformation is the deepest form of justice. You walked through fire designed to consume you, and you emerged, still standing and still whole. The scars you carry are not shame. They are evidence of a spirit that refused to be extinguished. You are not defined by the betrayal. You are defined by the survival and the grace that followed. That is your power. That is your confirmation, and the cards want you to carry that forward. You deserve every bit of healing that is approaching, and the cards want you to know that deeply. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for trusting this message and for choosing yourself. This reading found you for a reason, and I am grateful you stayed until the very end. The second card is the King of Cups, and he represents the emotional mastery you are growing into. The King of Cups shows you becoming the version of yourself the one this experience was shaping. You will not return to who you were before. You are evolving into something stronger and more discerning. The near future asks you to stay open, not reckless, but willing to let the right things in. The King of Cups also signals that emotional balance returns, a steadiness you have not felt in months. Now, here is the advice the cards are offering, and I need you to hear this carefully. Do not shrink yourself to make this easier for anyone. Your boundaries